Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for hanging with me. I really appreciate you going out of your way to like, comment, and subscribe. That helps me and the channel out a lot, so thank you guys for doing that. Now let's talk about May, the difference between May, June, and July, because it seems like the dog days of summer out there. It's extremely hot, but you really don't want to dive into those baits you're going to start throwing in June and July and the way you fish in June and July just yet, because May is all about moving baits. May is all about seeking, actively feeding fish. The grass is always greener in tournament fishing, but it is extremely greener in the month of May. So I'm going to explain that and then kind of tell you a little bit of the differences of June and July and what you need to be doing now, not what you're doing then. So in May, you will find fish moving to new areas. You will find that there are always different scenarios going on your lake. There's a lot of different deals that may or may not be working. And it seems like this is the time of year where you may be around fish, but if you don't have the correct conditions to catch them or the right bait, you may not catch anything. And you can go to those same spots the next day with clouds and wind and just really catch them good. But they not bite, they may not bite the day that you need them to bite. So it's very important to have lots of different plans and lots of different, patterns to check this time of year. So in June and July, when we do get in the dog days of summer, it seems like the fish have been there. They're in their summer haunts. They're not leaving. And that's when you slow down, you drag something around, and that tends to be the best way to catch a bass. But right now, if you try to do that, let's say you found some fish on a cloudy, windy day, or maybe you found them first thing in the morning, and you're around a bunch of fish, and you go back the next day and it's sunny, no wind, blue skies, and you start dragging something around because you just know I'm around a lot of fish, I can slow down with the worm, that doesn't work. I've tried that a lot of times because I love to get out there and drag a worm, and for whatever reason, it's better to just go seek out new water. For whatever reason, in the month of May, if you don't have a suitable condition to catch them, you need to go somewhere where there is a suitable condition to catch them. And what I mean by that is, if there's mats and it's sunny, go fish the shady mats. Or if it's sunny and it's, no wind or anything, go fish those shady docks. Trying to get those fish that are still relatively shallow, less than 8-10 feet of water, trying to get them to bite, it's just not going to happen because there's just too much going on. You have this influx of bluegill, so fish are actively feeding. They have a lot of options. You may have shad spawning and there's just a bunch of shad out there. They get tough to catch. They get tough to catch on artificial. So it's very important that you're going somewhere where you can catch them on a bait and you're not necessarily so worried about, the conditions being perfect for how you caught them yesterday, allowing you to catch them today. So I want to talk about the Lipless Crankbait because this is a bait that we know works really good in the spring. We know it works really good in the fall, but this is a bait that I don't take out of my boat in May, June, and July, and especially May. Right now where I'm saying you have to catch them on moving baits, it's very important to seek out places where you can, fits the day or whatever, conditions you have at that very moment. This is one of those baits that is a sleeper in the month of May. So let's talk about what you need to catch them on this bait, because I don't want to confuse you or I don't want to make you lose your confidence because you're throwing it in the wrong situation. So you need a flat. So if you have steep banks, maybe 45-degree banks, like you live on a highland reservoir or a mountain lake, this is not going to be the bait that you just run down the bank and throw them. You really need flats. You also need wind. You can catch them in sun, you can catch them in clouds, but wind is extremely important. So yes, this bait will work first thing in the morning when the fish are actively feeding and you have low light, but as the day progresses, wind is the key element to catching bass on this lake. So the reason I bring up the wind is, let's say you get into some flatter water, up a river, a dead end, back of a creek or something. Yes, you have a flat where this bait works, but you can't go there at 11 o'clock when you have high sun and think you're going to catch them, because those areas are typically shielded from the wind. So you're never really going to have a whole lot of wind in those type places. So that's what's going to deter this bait. Not saying you couldn't go there first thing in the morning when they're actively feeding, but you need wind if you want to catch them the rest of the day. So those type places are not great. Now, what will trump the wind is if you have current. So if you have current, this is a great current bait. Now, if you're fishing around a lot of wood and stuff like that, you can hang this bait up a lot, so it can kind of become a pain there. But if you don't, current, you don't need wind, current, you can catch them on this bait. Now, the reason this bait does tend to fall off this time of year is on a lot of these southern fisheries, you know, the grass really starts growing up high. So it's a lot tougher to fish. You know, a lot of those areas where in March and April, you could catch them on this 1/2 ounce or maybe even a 3/4. You can't even reel a 1 ounce through them because the grass is up so high. So fish are tending to go deeper as we get later in the year. So if you have an outside grass line, maybe one that grows into 8 feet of water, that's perfect for this bait. You know, this bait shines anytime you're on a flat. So if you have a flat near the main creek channel or the main river channel where bass are migrating to this time of year, that is a great bait. Now, suitable bottom is extremely important. So I already talked about the grass. You want grass that's healthy. It's not going to rip off the bottom. You know, as the stalks of the grass get longer, you know, they're easier to rip off the bottom. So that kind of becomes a problem. But if you can find some shorter grass or some stronger grass, grass is a great option for this bait. Now, probably not my first choice later in the year because of everything I just mentioned. So if you have like a rocky or a shell bed, some kind of bottom that's hard, flat, and next to a creek channel or main river channel can be very good. You throw in something like docks or lily pads where you have fish that are naturally suspending because of that shade. This is one of those baits that will work when they're just not biting anything that's on the bottom. They've seen too many swim jigs and spinner baits, and they don't want to commit to something on top like a buzzbait or a spook. The lipless is a great option. So if I'm around a lily pad field, I know those fish are going to use the shade from the lily pads. They're going to be up under it. They're going to come out. They're going to get around that hard rocky bottom or whatever it is and feed for a little bit. A lipless is one of those baits that shines when they just won't touch anything else. So a lipless crankbait still has its place. A great ledge fishing, a great ledge fishing bait. You know, a ledge where the fish are set up to feed is flat. It may fall off, you know, right next to the main river channel like a bluffy drop, but the high spot, the feeding spot where the fish are at, that may be in 8 to 15 feet of water. A lipless crankbait, maybe not in a 1/2 ounce, you know, they make a 3/4. You can find a 1 ounce some places, some brands. That could be a great deal, you know, for that. You know, if you have a lot of wind and stuff like that, it's going to be harder to get the smaller one down there, but this bait can be fished out in deeper water. You just need to go up in sizes, and it is a flat, so it will work. So, and current typically is on those type places. If you don't have current, you know, it can still work out in that deeper water without a whole lot of wind. So this is a great bait. This is a bait that I think a lot of people stop throwing in March and April. And I'm from Florida originally, and this is a bait we throw year round. Now, obviously, we're not throwing it in the exact same places we threw it in March and April, but there are still times when this bait is going to catch you fish when nothing else will. So don't cut off a lipless crankbait or don't take it out of your boat, to say the least, because it is a fish catcher, catches big ones. You just need the right conditions and the right places. So try that, guys. Good luck to you, and I'll see you on the water.